Year 12. Hopefully you got on okay with Firefly yesterday. I know we all had a few struggles. So lesson 1, I asked you to take information from the textbook about checks and balances and put them into a table so that you'd have those ready for whenever you write an essay and you have to give examples really quickly. The reason why there are excellent checks and balances in the US is because there's a clear separation of powers. So no one branch has more power than the other. They share some powers. The president can't do what he wants without Congress giving him permission. Congress can't pass laws that go against the Constitution because the judiciary will strike them down. So nobody can become this tyrannical ruler. Lesson 2, I asked you to look at the study book and answer some questions. Now, yesterday, because of all the problems with Firefly and emails and just internet in general, I decided that actually that would probably take you 2 lessons. So hopefully you're watching this now after having completed the questions I set. That's questions 1 to 6. And I'll give you the answers now. We'll go through and just check that you understand everything. So the Constitution was written in 1787. This was after British rule, and the US had made itself independent, become independent. They wanted to have a fresh constitution. They wanted to make sure that it was their rules. You know, they've been ruled so long by the British, they wanted to make an American constitution. So how do they go about it? Well, in 1787, they started writing this constitution, but they couldn't quite agree on what to do. We had 2 different schools of thought. We had the Federalists and the Republicans. So the Federalists, when we think of people like Hamilton, wanted strong government, and the Republicans, when we think of Jefferson, they wanted limited government. Now, they all agreed that they should have a codified constitution, and that's question C. We know what codification is. It means that you can find the constitution in one place. And they wanted their laws to be entrenched. They wanted their constitution to be entrenched. And we know that that means that it's difficult or hard to change. And this is in comparison with the UK constitution that we looked at, our UK constitution, where it's really, really easy to change it. You just pass an act of parliament. You just need a simple majority. In America, it's really difficult. You need supermajorities. If you turn over, at first, when independence had happened, we had the 13 colonies or states, and they all just carried on independently. Nobody wanted to have a strong central government because they were fed up with being ruled by the British, and they feared a tyrannical strong government, so they didn't want to give government too much power again. So they sort of plodded along, maintaining their power, and the problem with that was that nobody wanted to give central government any money because they were only looking after their own state. So there wasn't any consistency. Government wasn't getting taxes, or the central government wasn't getting any taxes. They were in charge of a few things, but they couldn't really do much. And if you don't have that, then the states all have their own agendas, and there isn't any consistency in America. So they decided that we needed a new constitution, and we needed to define the powers of the states and define the powers of federal government. And that's all kept everybody happy, because the Articles of Federation, kept people happy if they wanted to have strong state power, but it didn't keep people happy if they wanted, a good, strong central government. So by writing constitution, they clearly divided the powers, and that's where we come to federalism, but we'll save that excitement for lesson 4. So if you turn over, looking at the amendment process, so question 3, it says constitutional amendment statistics. Few amendments have been ratified since the Constitution became effective. We know it's only 27. So the number of constitutional amendments ratified between 1790 to 1791 are 10. So the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. That's your Bill of Rights. Number of constitutional amendments ratified 1792 to present, 17. So after those first 10, they made another 17 amendments. How many amendments have been passed by 2/3 of both houses of Congress? 27. That's the main way of doing it. The states can propose, but it's always been done by Congress. Ratified by state legislatures or state constitutional conventions, 26. The only one that's that was the prohibition one, and approved by Congress but not so far ratified by states, 1. So why did the Founding Fathers make it so difficult to amend the Constitution? We've talked about this before. They made it difficult because they didn't want an overly powerful government. So if you have a government that can just keep amending the Constitution, they can gradually give themselves more and more power. So by making it really difficult to amend the Constitution, they prevent that happening. Secondly, they made it difficult because they didn't want mistakes to happen. And that did happen. We know that happened with Prohibition, Amendment 18. So they banned alcohol and they realised a few years later, oh, we shouldn't have done that. So they had to go and amend it again. And the third reason, they didn't need to make the amendment procedure any easier because they were very clever and they put vague language into the Constitution. And we've talked about that before. The fact that there's words like necessary, proper, cruel, unusual, freedom of speech, liberty. All of these words can be interpreted quite widely. So the Founding Fathers didn't need to give an easier amendment procedure because judges were able to interpret it quite widely. So 5, for what reasons has a number of constitutional amendments ratified since 1791 been so limited? Oh, sorry, that's my dishwasher. Because of supermajorities. Always say to the examiner, supermajorities make it really, really difficult. Secondly, the courts have got judicial review. They gave themselves that power in the case of Marbury versus Madison, and it makes it really, really easy for the courts to interpret words as widely as they want to, really. So we don't have to actually amend the Constitution. So we go back to our examples of Roe versus Wade. They haven't had to put abortion into the Constitution. They've just read the 14th Amendment really widely to mean that abortion is okay. The same as Obergefell versus Hodges. Same-sex marriage is okay. For turnover, finally. Question 6. So they asked you to choose either the 25th, 27th or the Equal Rights Amendment. So the 25th Amendment, obviously about the Vice President taking over if the President can't. Now, that happened briefly when President Bush had to have a colonoscopy. So he was sedated, so technically the Vice President was sworn in as President. But at the moment, a few people have been saying we should invoke the 25th and bring in Mike Pence because they think that Donald Trump's got a screw loose. So some people are saying he's unable to govern because he's not mentally able to. But anyway, they're trying to do that. So they tried impeachment, now they're trying the 25th. 27th Amendment, if you did that one. So that's about you're not allowed to increase or decrease salaries until we've had another election. And that's to prevent people sort of squeezing in, a pay rise for themselves before the people have actually voted them in. It was proposed 200 years ago, and it was only ratified in 1992. So it did take a long time to come into place. And the final one, Equal Rights Amendment. So it doesn't actually say in the Constitution that there is equality of the sexes. And there's nothing that says, technically you can't discriminate against women. So people have often wanted this put into the Constitution. So it's entrenched, it's there, it's clear. But there's been lots of people who've objected to it for various reasons. I mean, some people have said, well, we don't want women to have equal rights because we don't want them to fight on the front line. Other people said we need equal rights because we need women to be able to take control of their own bodies, to choose to have an abortion. We need women to have equal pay, etc. And that's it. So that's the end of questions 1 to 6. Now, what I want you to do is to now, because I think you probably will have a little bit more time for lesson 3, could you just do, in this workbook, could you do the principles of the US Constitution? So it's just carrying on. And could you answer questions 8 and 9? And that's it. And then I'm also going to send you an A4 sheet with the questions, the test I gave you, what's Article 1, what's Article 2, what's Article 3, just to keep that going, just so you keep those in mind. but you've just got 2 more questions to do, and that's enough for lesson 3. For lesson 4, we'll start having a look at federalism. If you want to get ahead in the reading, do that by all means, and I will try to record one of these delightful videos where I don't cringe at all at any point and cover some of federalism for you, because sometimes people get a little bit confused. But yeah, so any problems, please do Skype me. I had quite a few people Skyping yesterday. Email me, but put the work into SharePoint, because with 120 pupils in prep and then another 45 in the senior, I can't keep up with the emails about questions and work, so it'd be really helpful if you could put it into the SharePoint. If you're having problems with SharePoint, send me an email and I think I'll have to take your name off and then add you again. And if you're still having problems, we'll try another way. Okay, right, take care, bye bye.